Welcome to the Easy English Pod. I'm Mina, and here we help you improve your English every day with practical tips and real conversations. Today, we're talking about an important topic: stop memorizing, start connecting. Many learners spend hours memorizing lists of words, grammar rules, or phrases. But does memorizing alone help you truly speak and understand English? I want to share a story about Leo, one of my friends who struggled with this. Leo used to memorize long vocabulary lists before his exams. He could repeat the words perfectly, but had trouble using them in real conversations. One day, he decided to change his approach. Instead of memorizing, he focused on understanding how words fit together in sentences and the meaning behind them. For example, rather than just learning the word challenge, Leo studied sentences like, "This project is a challenge because it requires teamwork," and "Facing challenges helps us grow." He also listened to how native speakers use the word naturally. After a few weeks, Leo noticed he could speak more confidently and understand English better. He wasn't just recalling words. He was thinking in English. Understanding means connecting new words and grammar to real situations. Imagine you meet Chloe. Instead of memorizing phrases like, "How are you?" without knowing when to use them, you learn to notice how Chloe greets people at work or with friends. You pay attention to expressions and their feelings. When you do this, English becomes part of your thinking, not just something you repeat. It makes speaking and listening easier. Let me give you another example. My husband, Sam, wanted to improve his English for work. He stopped memorizing long lists of technical terms and started reading articles and listening to talks related to his field. He wrote down sentences he found interesting and tried to use those sentences in his daily emails and meetings. This helped him not only learn vocabulary, but also understand how to use it properly. He says this method gave him confidence and made learning more enjoyable. So, how can you start understanding instead of memorizing? First, listen to English every day. Find stories, news, or conversations that interest you. Don't focus on every word. Try to get the meaning of the whole sentence or idea. Second, practice speaking by using new words and phrases in sentences you create yourself. Don't just repeat, make it personal. For example, if you learn the word improve, say, "I want to improve my English speaking," or "She improves her skills every day." Third, read or listen to English material that is just a little bit challenging. When you find a sentence you don't understand, break it down. Look at the meaning of each word and how they work together. To help you practice, here is a short story about a teacher named Maria. Maria noticed her students memorized answers, but couldn't explain ideas. She changed her teaching. Instead of giving them vocabulary lists, she asked students to explain words in their own sentences and talk about their experiences. One day, a student named Ben explained the word responsibility by talking about how he helps his wife with daily tasks at home. This showed real understanding, not just memorization. If you practice like Ben, you will find your English skills grow naturally. Understanding language means seeing how it fits into your life and daily experiences. Try this. Pick one new word each day. Listen to how people use it. Make your own sentences and use it in conversation with friends, family, or even yourself. Remember, English is a tool for communication, not just a list to memorize. When you focus on understanding, you'll find it easier to listen, speak, read, and write. A good friend of mine, Daniel, wanted to improve his English for his job as a manager. At first, Daniel tried memorizing long lists of business vocabulary. He could repeat the words in his office, but found it hard to join meetings or explain ideas clearly. One day, Daniel changed his plan. He started to focus on understanding business conversations by listening carefully to how people spoke in meetings and how they used words. Instead of memorizing isolated words like deadline or budget, he listened to full sentences like, "We need to finish the project before the deadline," or "The budget for this quarter has increased." Daniel began to practice these sentences by explaining them in his own words. He would say things like, "Our team must work fast because the deadline is soon," or "We have more money this quarter to spend." This helped him think in English and use vocabulary naturally. After a few weeks, Daniel noticed he was more confident in meetings. He could follow conversations better and even contribute ideas without feeling stuck. His understanding of English improved much faster than when he was just memorizing. This shows the power of understanding English in context. When you see how words fit in sentences and how people use them every day, your brain starts to think in English. This is the key to speaking smoothly and listening well. Now, let's talk about grammar. Many learners try to memorize rules like use the past perfect tense or put ing at the end of verbs in continuous tense. But grammar is not just a set of rules to memorize, it is a tool to help you communicate clearly. Take Sofia, a student I know. She used to memorize grammar rules without practicing much. She got confused in real conversations because she tried to think about rules while speaking. Then she changed her method. She started reading short stories and paying attention to how tenses were used naturally. For example, instead of memorizing the rule for past perfect, Sophia noticed sentences like, "I had finished my work before he arrived." She read several examples and listened to how native speakers used these tenses in daily talk. Sophia practiced by telling her own stories about her day, using the tenses she heard. At first, she made mistakes, but with time, she got better. She stopped thinking about rules and began to feel when to use different tenses. This approach helped Sophia speak more fluently. She understood that grammar is not just rules, but patterns that make communication clear. So, how can you learn grammar by understanding? Read and listen to English regularly. Notice patterns in how people speak and write. Try to use these patterns in your own sentences. When you do this, grammar will feel natural, not difficult. You will speak English more confidently without stopping to think about every rule. Let's explore vocabulary in more detail. Many learners think learning vocabulary means memorizing lists of words. But words have different meanings depending on how and where they are used. Take the word run. It can mean many things: to move fast, to operate a business, or a tear in fabric. For example, I run every morning. She runs a small cafe. And I have a run in my stocking. Learning just the word run is not enough. You need to understand its different meanings by seeing examples in real situations. I remember Oscar, who learned English for traveling. He used to memorize words without understanding their use. When he said, "I want to run a complaint," the hotel staff looked confused. Later, Oscar learned the phrase, "make a complaint," and now he can say what he means correctly. This shows why understanding words in context is important. You learn how to use words correctly and avoid mistakes. To build your vocabulary with understanding, try these steps. First, when you learn a new word, look for example sentences. For example, if you learn the word support, see how people use it. She supports her family, or the company supports its employees. Second, listen to English speakers and notice the words they use in different situations. Third, try to use new words in sentences about your life. For example, I support my husband with his work, or my wife supports me when I study. Practicing this way helps your brain remember words with their meaning, not just as isolated items. Now, let's talk about listening skills. Many learners find it hard to understand spoken English because it is fast and full of unknown words. A good way to improve listening is to focus on the overall meaning, not every single word. Imagine you listen to a story about a family trip. Even if you don't understand every word, you can understand the main idea: who went on the trip, what they did, and how they felt. I want to share an example about Mark and his wife, Linda. They went to visit Mark's parents in another city. Mark listened carefully when his father talked about the history of their town. Even though some words were new, Mark understood the story because he focused on the main ideas and the feelings in his father's voice. Mark asked questions to make sure he understood, like, "When did you move here?" or "What is your favorite place in the town?" This shows listening is active. It's not just hearing words, but understanding ideas and asking questions. To practice listening, try these tips. Listen to English every day, even for a few minutes. Focus on the meaning of sentences and ideas. Don't worry about every word. If possible, write down new words or sentences you hear, and try to understand them later. Ask yourself questions about what you listen to, like who, what, where, when, why, and how. Try to talk about what you heard with friends or family. Speaking practice is also important. Many learners hesitate to speak because they worry about making mistakes. But making mistakes is part of learning. Take the example of Julia, a learner who was shy at first. She started speaking English with her husband every day, even if she made mistakes. Her husband listened patiently and helped her correct sentences gently. Julia's confidence grew because she spoke regularly. She also learned from her mistakes and improved quickly. If you want to speak better, practice often. Don't wait until you feel perfect. Use English in daily life with your family, friends, or even by yourself. You can describe your day, tell stories, or explain your plans. For example, today I cooked dinner for my wife, or tomorrow I will visit my friend. Speaking this way helps you think in English, making conversations easier. Remember, understanding English means connecting words, grammar, listening, and speaking to real life. Try to learn English as you learned your first language, by listening, practicing, and understanding, not by just memorizing. When you focus on understanding, your English will improve naturally and quickly. Keep practicing every day with the English Flow community. We are here to help you grow your English skills step by step. Now, I want to share a final tip. Use your environment to practice understanding. For example, when you read signs, instructions, or labels, try to understand the meaning instead of just memorizing the words. If you are cooking, listen to recipes in English and try to follow the steps. When you talk with your husband or wife, try to explain things in English. All these small steps help your brain connect English to real life, making learning easier and more enjoyable. One helpful way is to tell stories about your own life. When you create stories, you use words and grammar naturally. You don't have to memorize anything. Take Peter, for example. Peter is learning English to communicate with his wife's family. Every evening, he practices by telling stories about his day. One day he said, "Today, I helped my wife in the garden. We planted tomatoes and watered the flowers." Peter didn't memorize this sentence. He simply talked about what he did. This made his speaking stronger because he was using real language connected to his life. You can try this too. Pick a moment from your day and tell a story about it in English. For instance, yesterday I cooked dinner, or I went to the market with my wife. Another great tip is to learn phrases, not just single words. Phrases are groups of words that work together to express ideas. Let's look at the phrase, take care of. It means to look after someone or something. For example, I take care of my children, or she takes care of the house. Learning phrases helps you speak more naturally and understand conversations better. Instead of trying to put words together one by one, phrases give you ready-made pieces of language. I remember Laura, who learned phrases instead of single words. She said, "Learning phrases helped me speak faster and understand what people say." Try to notice and practice common phrases when you listen or read English. Use them in your own speaking and writing. Now let's talk about using questions to improve your understanding. Asking questions helps you think more deeply about English. If you hear a sentence like, "My husband enjoys reading books," you can ask yourself questions like, "What kind of books does he enjoy?" Or, "When does he read?" By asking questions, you connect ideas and learn more about the language. I want to share a story about Kevin, who practices English by asking questions. When he listens to conversations, he pauses and thinks, "Why did she say that?" Or, "What does he mean?" This helps Kevin understand not just words, but the meaning behind them. You can practice this too. When you read or listen, ask questions about the meaning and details. It makes learning active and interesting. Next, let's talk about using English in everyday situations. The more you use English in real life, the more you understand it. For example, when Sarah goes shopping with her husband, she practices by naming items in English and talking about prices. She might say, "This apple costs $2," or "We need to buy bread." Using English like this helps Sarah connect language with real things around her. It makes learning easier and more practical. You can do the same when you are at home, work, or outside. Try to describe things in English. Talk about what you see, hear, or do. Another useful method is to keep a small notebook or use your phone to write down new words and phrases. For example, James writes down sentences he hears from native speakers or in English lessons. Then he practices these sentences by reading them aloud and using them in conversations with his wife. This helps James remember language better because he sees it in context and uses it personally. If you do this regularly, your vocabulary and grammar will improve naturally. Let's also discuss how to deal with difficult words or sentences. Sometimes you might hear or read something you don't understand at first. Don't worry. Try to guess the meaning from the words you know and the situation. Context helps a lot. For example, if you hear, "We should leave early to avoid traffic," but don't know traffic, you can guess it means many cars on the road because of the phrase "leave early." If you want to be sure, look up the word later and try to use it in sentences. Michael and his wife, Emily, often practice this way. When they hear a new word, they guess the meaning first and check later. This makes learning more natural and less stressful. Now, I want to encourage you to set small daily goals for English practice. For example, decide to learn 5 new phrases each day, or listen to one short story. You can say, "Today, I will use 3 new sentences when I speak with my husband," or "I will listen to an English conversation for 10 minutes." Small goals help you stay motivated and make steady progress. Remember, the key to success is understanding English in real life, not just memorizing words or rules. Focus on connecting language to your life, listening carefully, asking questions, and practicing regularly. These habits will make your English grow stronger every day. Let me tell you about Olivia, who improved her English by talking to her husband every evening. They shared their day and practiced new words and phrases together. Olivia's English became more natural because she used the language with people she trusts and talks to every day. You can do the same. Practice English with your husband, wife, family members, or friends. Speaking with others helps you understand how English works in conversation. Also, don't forget to be patient with yourself. Learning a language takes time. It is okay to make mistakes and learn from them. Every step you take towards understanding English is progress. Keep listening, speaking, reading, and writing as much as you can. Try to use English in your daily life, and you will see improvement. Finally, remember that the English Flow community is here to support you. We provide tips, stories, and practice ideas to help you stop memorizing and start understanding English naturally.